G'day everyone, Artist Wayne here with a video that goes harder, longer, with more bike flips than you could hope for. On one of the coldest winter Sunday mornings, I met up with the king of Currumbong, Jarrod, and his brother-in-law, Shano, aka Custard. And we headed over to Freeman's Waterhole to meet up with Lee, aka Funky. Hold on to your helmets, boys and girls, because today we signed up for Funky's Romaniacs training. And without a word of a lie, 5 minutes into the ride, we had come to this. Now for those that don't know, I hate getting over logs, I hate jumping them, I hate doing anything near logs. In fact, I hate trees. They're lovely and beautiful when they're vertical, but when they're laying horizontal, oh no, I don't like them. So imagine my surprise when Custard, the big man, and I arrived here, and Funky was already over the other side. I have no idea how he did it. I guess it'll just have to remain one of the great mysteries of the world. But us mere mortals, we had to drag our bikes over. And did I mention it was cold? Well, it was freezing. It was actually one of the coldest winter days we've had in New South Wales in 20 years. So imagine my disappointment when I had to forego a lovely hot bacon and egg breakfast just so as I could get up early and meet the Wattos boys. Anyway, looking back, it was good that I arrived for the ride nice and light without a big breakfast in my guts, because the Wattos boys ride hard. Funky now had us riding single trails. These weren't your average normal single trails. These trails ran up hills, down into valleys, on the edges of big drop-offs, where one false move would end in a fatal death. Don't ask me what Custard's looking at here. Maybe he saw a yowie. He just stopped all of a sudden, looked like a kangaroo in a headlight. Actually, earlier on I did notice a dark cloud come over Custard's face. I became a little suspicious that he might have known where we were heading today. And my suspicions were confirmed later on when Custard said he'd had nightmares and didn't get much sleep the night before. Anyway, that's okay, I'll take up second position. I now had the impossible task of trying to catch up to Funky. Although my number 2 position was short-lived, because the speedy Custard quickly overtook me. And just like that, boys and girls, we started to ascend. Welcome to As soon as we hit Amazon, I noticed Custard riding off in a different direction to Funky. Well, stuff following Custard, I was sticking with my master, Sensei Funky. I wasn't sticking with him for long. That quickly became apparent because the tip of this hill was just loose bull dust, and I got bogged. Now in a situation like this, all common sense seems to go out the window, because you just don't care how tired you get, you just don't want anyone to be able to overtake you. Your blood's up, you're in battle mode, all you can think of is getting to the top. But check out the big man. Jarrod came to my rescue. Because who knows how long I would have been stuck here, burning unnecessary energy. And whilst all this was going on, I was keeping an eye on Funky up ahead, just checking on the lines he took, and I was also wondering where Custard was. There was no sign of him anywhere. I mean, I wouldn't blame riders for turning around and going home, but not Custard. Not one of the Wattos boys. He had to be somewhere. And just like that, General Custard arrived. Okay, now I could follow the exact same line as Sensei Funky. Alright, 2 bikes at the top. Actually, I use that word top very loosely. We were nowhere near the top. But at least I could have a rest now. Custard was now up. It was time to go down and help the big fella. Big Jarrod, king of Kurumbong and leader of the Watagans clan. Thank God he got up there. Jarrod's bike might be light, but he sure ain't. Just look at the concentration on the big man's face as he focuses on conquering this hill. Boy, that made me tired just watching it again. But we were doing Romaniacs training today. There was no rest for the wicked. And I ain't kidding. I literally got on my bike, rode around a short corner and came to this. Let's just say this was the second part of Amazon. And I was determined to get to the top of this first. Obviously, the hill had other ideas. Things were looking good though. I couldn't even hear any other bikes. And just like that, out of nowhere came Master Funky. The race was on, student versus sensei. Could I get to the top of this hill first? No bloody way. Not when Funky can magically jump his bike up giant steps. Whoa, and look at that. Big Jarrod's on his way up. Now I really did have to get a move on. Finally, just like that, I was up. Second bike up again. I think that's why Master Funky came up beside me and whispered in my helmet, "You're my #1 student, Artist Wayne." And again I could just perch myself on a rock and watch the mayhem unfold. Big Jarrod making great progress. Custard looked like he needed a step ladder. You see how happy you get when you can just sit there and have a rest? But we weren't here to sit around like shags on a rock. Again, I jumped on my bike and not 20 metres away, I came to this. This would be the hardest part of Amazon yet. The other climbs were just precursors, hors d'oeuvres if you like. They were just starters. This was the main meal, the real deal. It quickly became apparent that we'd need to dig deep, boys, if we wanted to get to the top of this. And just like before, Big Jarrod was there to lend a hand. He's a great bloke, Big Jarrod. Just watch as he lets me ride over the top of his leg. Yeehaw! I don't care how I get the bike up, as long as I get it up. First bike flip of the day, and it goes to Artist Wayne with a score of 8.2 because the landing was perfect. I gently leaned it against a tree. Now the next section I came to, Funky explained, you can take the right and ride on a tiny little ledge with a big gap that you would have to jump over, or you could go to the left and be in a deep rut, but you'd have a massive climb out at the end. Well, let's just say I wasn't jumping over that gap, so it was the rut for me. And finally I was at the top, feeling pretty good about myself. I mean, I'd had a tiny mild heart attack, but at least I was at the top. Now I could have a rest. Next cab off the rank was Custard. You know you're supposed to ride the bike, Custard.
We interrupt this broadcast for Custard Cam.
There you go, even our sensei Funky can have a little trouble. But where it took two men to climb up, Master Funky would do it with relative ease. Three of us were now up, and it was time to get the big man to the top. The John Wayne of the Central Coast. Oh, and just like that, Big Jarrod had joined the bike flipping competition with a score of 7.5. His landing was pretty terrible. Lucky he's supple for a big man. All those years of ballet have paid off.
You right? The way I wanted to aim. Got that one? Yeah, I got that one.
What a Herculean effort. Now there were 4 riders at the top, with Jarrod's bike nearly beating him up. Don't get me wrong, we weren't finished with Amazon, and Amazon certainly wasn't finished with us, but that was pretty much the hardest part of Amazon behind us. All I had to do was keep up with Funky, and just like before, that's no easy task, especially when riding through such a beautiful area. I had one eye on the trail and one eye roving over all the beautiful scenery. I seriously expected to come across a lost city. And that was it. I stalled and Funky was gone. Then I arrived here. Do I go the low road or do I go the high gnarly road? Well, it was Romaniacs training after all. It's time to go gnarly. Oh no, and then I came to another bloody tree to get over! Maybe I should have gone the low road. Oh boy, Amazon is huge. We still weren't at the top, but we must have been getting close. And when I saw Sensei Funky, I knew we must have been at the top. Finally! Amazon was a fantastic ride, a monstrous ride, but this was Romaniacs training. We were only getting started! I had no idea where we were now. I knew we were somewhere in the Watagans. We had done a heap of single trails to get here, so let's just call this the trail that just kept going down and down and down. Hell, a place regarded in various religions as a spiritual realm of evil and suffering, often traditionally depicted as a place of perpetual fire beneath the earth where the wicked are punished after death. Forget that, logs are my hell. Just imagine my horror. Well, we had covered so much ground, loads of single trail, huge hill climbs, and then we arrived here. It looked like bike flipping territory to me. It's got to be bad when Custard comes back down. Time to watch Funky and then follow his exact line. Here I was at the steep end of the hill climb, and I knew Funky would have taken the high line. I'm pretty sure he didn't do this. Oh well, a score of 7.7, that's nothing to scoff at, especially when you land flat on your ass. Not once, but twice! Time to give it another shot. Most people with an inkling of common sense would not take that same line. But not me. I was determined. Sadly, I just didn't have the momentum to continue on. On to Plan B. Well, Plan B didn't seem to be working, so it was time to try Plan C. I'll just pop the WR into reverse and try a different line. There's always more than one way to skin a cat. Well, I'd given it a red hot go, and I did get a bit further. Thankfully, Funky was there to help me get to the top. In fact, I was in a bit of a hurry to get to the top, so luckily Custard was there to lend a hand as well, because I seriously needed to have my second heart attack. Once I was recovered, Funky took us through the sinister forest. I mean, I was absolutely knackered. I hit every tree. Vines were catching me. I hit and bounced off every tree and rock. The big man was behind me the whole way, and he must have been having a great laugh. No wonder my neck was sore the next day. After the sinister single trails, Funky allowed us to stop for 3 minutes and 12 seconds so that we could scoff down a protein bar. I mean, let's face it, this was Romaniacs trading, certainly not a ride for the faint-hearted. Then we hit more trails. We were now heading over to our next hill climb. The big man and I have been here before, so I thought I'd take point and show the boys the way up. Well, there you go, that didn't go quite to plan. I was really putting on a show for the other three. When I finally unblocked the hill, the boys just rode past me in disgust. And now we pick up the action on the second half of HUSABERG. I knew the line Funky would have taken, so it was time to give it a red hot go and make up for my poor effort earlier. Well, I got up and managed to run into a tree in the process. But at least I was up, level pegging with Custard. And it was just here that my video camera had run out of battery. It was, after all, a massive day. We now pick up the action with my phone. 3 riders were now at the top of HUSABERG. It was time for the big man to shine. Then it started to rain. I was telling the big man that perhaps he should hurry up. And then this happened. What a spectacular bike flip! Wowee, the big man really outdid himself. And what a score! I mean, his bike was pointing in the wrong direction again, but what a save! We were now heading to Hill where I was going to video Funky climbing the steps of Hill, but my phone didn't record. So to finish the video, I'll leave you with Big Jarrod's last misadventure. I'm Artist Wayne and thanks for watching, everyone.